be seated. Good morning. We are celebrating today the feast of Saint John the Apostle, also known as John the Beloved, the one who wrote the Gospel of John. Uh, he died in a ripe old age, and when he was exiled in Patmos, he also wrote the book of Revelation. John, known as the Apostle, who was with Jesus when he rose the son of Jairus from the dead. He was there in the Gethsemane when Jesus was arrested, and he is one of the first disciple, the son of because John the Beloved is also known as the son of Zebedee, the brother of James, and he is called as John the Beloved because he was one of the first disciple, and he was one of the last disciple, I would say, who didn't run when Christ was arrested. And he was with Jesus up to the cross. All the disciples were gone, but only John remained with Mary at the foot of the cross of Jesus. And the depiction of the Last Supper also is that John who sat beside Jesus and who used to lean his head on the chest of Jesus. My son, we are still in the season of Christmas, but it seems that we are reading the burial of Jesus, and Jesus was discovered when the disciples discovered the empty tomb of Jesus. We're supposed to zero in or focus more on the birth or the coming of the Messiah because we are still celebrating Christmas. And in fact, this is just a second day of Christmas. Why is that? Because whether we like it or not, since the beginning of creation, from the time of Adam and Eve to the time of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and all the prophets and judges and kings, all the history of the Bible all points to the cross. And even the resurrection of Jesus, when they discovered the empty tomb, it all points back to the cross. And even during the first century, second century, until now in the 20th first century, we are still talking about the cross. From the beginning of time, in the middle of time, and in our present time, all this points to the cross. I'll give you an example. Even the time of even the time of the creation of Adam and Eve, the Lord forbidden them to eat the fruit of the tree. And they eat it because they were tempted by the serpent or by Satan himself. And even that very scenario, the fruit of the tree became the fruit that caused man to be cursed. But the second fruit of the tree became the body and the blood for the world to live and to reverse, not maybe to undo, but to reverse that curse, that the fruit that hangs on the tree that took by Eve and eat it. Jesus Christ is now the new fruit of the tree. And he said in his word, in the Last Supper or in the upper room, my body and my blood is the real food and the real drink. He who eats this shall live forever. Jesus is the new fruit of the tree. That is why I was saying earlier that even during the day of creation, it already points to the pinnacle, to the summit, to that mountain of Calvary, to the cross. Even the time of Isaac, when Abraham or God instructed Abraham to offer Isaac, Isaac was carrying the tree or the wood to the mountain. And some of the Bible scholars would say that that mountain where they uh, performed the ritual, because Abraham was building there an altar. And in that very scenario, there are some other writings from the rabbi and from the midrashim that even Isaac said, "Papa, you tie uh, you tie me tight so that when you kill me and when I will be struggling, my bones will not be broken or will not be damaged. Thus, I'll become a good and perfect sacrifice." So, kato pala si Isaac daan was carrying the wood because he was to be the sacrifice. But of course, the angel reprimanded Abraham not to do so. And he was spared. And there was that lamb. They found a lamb and they sacrificed that. So ang tanan maigsuon nga history din ng kalibutan, the biblical history, all points to the cross. The question is, how about our lives? Ang atong kinabuhi, does it points to the cross of Jesus? Or we are ashamed of that cross, that we don't even wear that cross to the public because the people would might think that we are insane or we are out of our mind or we are not in or we are not with the expression of time or out of passion because we are wearing a cross. And some people are ashamed of that cross. And sad to say that there are churches today that they don't like to see cross on their altar or on their church. They remove the cross. There are some churches that though they put some cross, but they remove the fruit of the tree. Jesus Christ on the cross, they don't use crucifix. Crucifix means with Christ on the cross, nailed on the cross. How about us today? Not just the world that denies and doesn't like the message of the cross. Don't you know that even some churches, there are some quote-unquote God's people, but they don't like to have the cross in their church. And maybe some have cross, but they don't like crucifix in the church. Why is that? Because they don't understand the message of the cross. For us, it is the power of God. To some, it is foolishness. But this is the message of the cross is power. Because all creation, even the coming years and coming century, there might be more centuries or millennium after our days, still that would still point to the cross, because Jesus is the eternal Son of God, and the eternal Son of God, he is known as the eternal sacrifice, and he performed his sacrifice on the cross. This is our salvation. Please stand.